So, back yet again for the third episode in this Revisiting Managers series, I guess you want to call it. Once again, I know I say this every video, but thanks to Wayside Life for the thumbnail, absolutely great. Go and check out his channel, doing an amazing job at the moment, and I'll leave that there at the moment. Let me know if you guys are enjoying this series or not, because I'm actually enjoying. It's actually quite fun going back and sort of reminiscing over previous managers at Sunderland. So, what I would say is the next one, obviously the last episode we left off with Martin O'Neill when he obviously got sacked. And this one's going to be shorter in comparison because it's the Italian nutcase himself, Paolo Canio. So Canio was brought in April 2013, or at least very back end of March 2013. But he was brought in for the last just over half a dozen or so games, to which he opened his first game with a 2-1 loss away at Chelsea. I think an Azpilicueta own goal put Sunderland in front, and then I think it was a Matt Kilgallen own goal. And I can't remember who got the winner. It might have been Hazard, but I could be wrong. But either way, we lost the game 2-1. And then going into his first win, which obviously for Sunderland fans is quite memorable. I mean, it's pretty sad that this is what we remember from that season. Tells you how bad it was in overall completion. But we went to Newcastle and won. We went to Newcastle and won 3-0. And bearing in mind, obviously, I'd only got into football 2 years or so beforehand. So this was the first time I'd experienced a derby win. I remember when we played them at Stadium of Light under Steve Bruce 1-0 when Ryan Taylor scored the over the wall. I was overconfident. I thought we beat them then, and since then I've never been confident for a derby, and I hate playing Newcastle in general. But this would start a sequence that would go across the next few managers of beating Newcastle. So after that, we followed that up with a home win against Everton 1-0 and bearing in mind Everton was 7th in the league at that point. They were flying, and Sessegnon scored the winner. And then after that, I think we tailed off with a 6-1 defeat to Aston Villa before 1-1 home draws against Stoke and Southampton respectively. But effectively, Wigan ended up joining Reading and QPR in the Championship, so Sunderland's blushes were spared before a final day 1-0 defeat away at Spurs, who were pushing for Champions League qualification with Arsenal, who were playing Newcastle. For us, that game was meaningless. Di Canio had done his job. Then after that, obviously, in the summer of 2013, we had a whole host of signings. And to be fair to him, I think this was more not Roberto Defanti. It was Roberto Defanti. Sorry, never mind. It was Roberto Defanti who ended up signing over 14 players. You look at Charas Mavrias, Dale Morberg, Carlson, Fabio Barini, Josie Altidore, a host of others, Mavito Minoni, because of course Simon Mignolet left, Valentin Roberge, Mabido Diakite, I think, there's loads upon loads. Andres De Sena, Ki Sung Young, there's a whole host of players in there, you get the point, that we signed that summer. And Di Canio only had, if I remember correctly, he only had 5 league games. When we started the season with an opening day defeat, 1-0 home defeat to Fulham, who went on to get relegated. So really a very poor result there. We drew 1-1 at Southampton. I was actually at that game, funnily enough, and we should have won. We conceded in the last couple of minutes. A 3-1 loss against newly promoted Crystal Palace, which again, at that point, I mean, Palace have got a good team now, but at that point, they were widely tipped for relegation, and yeah, I wasn't happy with that result when we lost. Then we lost 3-1 to home to Arsenal, and then finally a 3-0 defeat away at fellow strugglers West Bromwich Albion, with former Sunderland man Stefan Sessegnon, who left on deadline day, scoring against us. Di Canio's only win that season was in the Cup when we came from behind to beat MK Dons 4-2. And obviously I'll go into that next episode with Gus Poyet, but we know what happened with that one. As far as with Di Canio, with how he's concerned, I think Di Canio for me, when O'Neill was... I did think it was the right decision to sack Martin O'Neill, because I know that obviously the likes of Sean Middleton and Thane have disagreed with me in the previous comments, and that's fair enough. They think that Martin O'Neill would have kept us up. I don't think we would have done. I think we were pedestrian, and I didn't see anything in the style of play that O'Neill was implementing to keep us in the league. I think Di Canio for the rest of that season was good. I think it was good to give the players a kick up the backside, because we badly needed it. But afterwards, no. I don't think Di Canio was the man to really take us. But I think that unfortunately, as much as I think Di Canio's philosophies and ideas were actually really well intended, I do think that the whole catch-up thing, everything was just out of proportion. And unfortunately, players these days, don't respond to people, telling them they need to perform better. At least not as much. Obviously, to some extent, look, I like having a cuddle around the arm rather than getting shouted at. I think anybody does. But I think, obviously, the difference is I'm not a professional footballer. So I think the players, obviously, in the end, allegedly, this is allegedly, we don't know if it's true or not, ended up having a massive revolt and went to Ellis Short and said, we're not playing for this guy. And obviously, Canio was sacked in September 2013 and Gus Poyet came in. Look, the win at Newcastle was probably the only reason that Canio got to stay on past the end of the season. I know he had the contract before then, but I just think that Canio, for a short-term appointment, fair enough, get the team, galvanised and get them to safety. But afterwards, I think we need someone better. But in saying that, for the signings, Roberto Di Fanti deserves the main bulk of the blame here. And Canio was basically thrown into it and just had to work with what he was signed, basically. I'll thank him for the derby win at St James, but let's be honest, that's the only good thing Canio did. Anyway, guys, I love yous and leave yous. The next episode obviously deals with Gus Poyet, which is going to be probably a bit longer than this one, but I've rambled on for nearly 6 minutes in this video. So, take care, guys. Once again, love yous and leave yous, and make sure yous all stay safe.